Welcome back. Welcome back to the old card shop, everyone, to another episode of the Trainer Spotlight. Here, this time with one of our long-awaited guests, the one and the only Colton of Eternacity Collectibles, the brand new, newly formed Eternacity Collectibles.
Yeah.
I think a lot of you guys might have already interacted with Colson here in the hobby before. He's very active in all the live chats, everything. But we wanted to have him on and say thank you for being here. But yeah, Colson, why don't you tell us a little bit about your new channel and tell everyone where they can go find it and where they can interact with you if they want to. Because if you're not already subscribed to this man's new YouTube, please do us all a favor. I'll put the link down in the comments below or down in the description below, but please go up and follow him because he's gonna have some awesome content. I actually think you said you just had a video today, right?
So yeah, I finished editing my video today, my first one. My channel name, Colson. We're gonna keep it simple. Instagram, Eternacity Collectibles, that's where you can find me. But yeah, I mean subscribe within the next couple of days. I'll have the video out, just figuring out some rendering issues. But yeah, I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, and so I'm also excited to have you on here because I do like to have a lot of different people on the podcast, a lot of different sort of profiles, if you will, because his trainer spotlight, trainer profile, whatever I say, whatever I get my own name of my own podcast wrong all the time. So I like to have different people on here, and to be honest, you're probably one of the people I've been excited about talking to the most because I've been wanting to pick your brain because you, unlike almost everyone else that I've talked to in this hobby, are not 33 years old and you're not a male. Like, I mean, I know I've had a few other guests on here who don't fit that mold, but like for the most part, most of us are Poke boomers, kind of doing the same thing, talking about the same thing. And do you mind like disclosing your age range? I don't want to like dox you or say too
Oh
much,
no.
but like I know you're a lot younger than all of us, but that's specifically one of the things I kind of wanted to talk on. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm 19.
and you're
That's like
still you like Pokemon, and it's not like all Fortnite for you and stuff. Like this is like the questions that I think that a lot of us 30-year-olds are like wondering. Like, are the younger generations interested in this, or are we just 30-year-olds who are getting into this and we're all throwing our money at the same thing, but none of the other generations care? So this is why I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit that. So thanks
yeah,
again. Thanks for coming on.
yeah, of
I
course.
appreciate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I I am probably an anomaly for people my age. Like at the level that I'm
That's
at with
not
the
what we want to
hobby.
hear. That's not what we want to
No,
hear.
no, no. I'm gonna...
Come on, you're supposed to give confidence to us. Okay.
No, okay. So, interest in Pokemon, I think a lot of people underestimate the general interest in Pokemon as it is like the biggest IP in the world. Everyone knows what Pokemon is. All my friends know what Pokemon is. All my friends grew up with Pokemon. All my friends had Pokemon cards. While I'm 19 and I'm the only one that stayed into it my whole life. I've been in Pokemon my entire life since I got into it when I was like 4 or 5. All my friends, they've moved on. They're full-time students. They're getting jobs. They like playing Valorant. They like, like they're just they're doing whatever. But I stuck around. I think there's a lot of people my age that do casually interact with the TCG and they like to play, they like to open packs because they hit a cool V and they're like, "Oh, this is sick." They'll show it to me. I'm just like, "Yeah, it's cool." Like like even if it's just $1 card, they won't check the price. They don't know. Um they just love Pokemon. They think Pokemon's cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think is really cool too to see is the different kind of levels of age groups interacting differently. Because even when I
Yep.
like go to my friends' houses and they're my age, they have kids and they're like 4, 3, 4, 5 years old. Like I'm giving Pokemon packs to those kids to open with their parents, and the parents are, of course, I feel like more stoked than the kids are. But then the kids, they're also stoked about it, and the next time I come over, they're like, hey, it's a Pokemon guy, and it's like they're excited about Pokemon. Then it's not just me, it's they like Pokemon, so it's kind of like okay, you're right. I think it's a popular thing among all sort of age range, and so it is interesting though that certain ages seem to be a little more into it than others. So
Oh yeah.
I guess this is kind of a good place to go into like the podcast in general because in general, I wanted to talk this to be about you. And so this the first way I like to start off after we sort of do the introductions is we like to go into the old age-old question of like how you got into the hobby. So I guess you said earlier you got in when you're 4 years old, you think, or like maybe 4 or 5 sometimes. That's
Yeah.
insane. Because like
Yeah.
I guess for someone like me, it didn't exist when I was that young. So like I think I got in at 8 or 9, like most other Poke Boomers, and
Hmm.
like that was when it came out. So like for you to get in that early, that must have left more of an impression, I would think. So
Yeah.
you're like you
Yeah.
grew up knowing like your first sight could have been Pikachu for all we know. You know that
Yeah.
wasn't even an option for us.
Yeah. So I will say, I remember I was into Pokemon before I was even in like kindergarten, before I was even like 5 or 6. Um, I remember, so Pokemon Advanced flashed up on the TV, the final episode of Pokemon Advanced, Sceptile versus Blaziken, Ash versus May. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like what is this? And
Crazy.
then I'm like, and then I remember, I watched her and I was just like enamored by this. So just like coming in towards the end of Gen 3, like 2006, 2007, moving into Diamond and Pearl, they were just playing it on Cartoon Network or whatever was on. And I was like, Mom, what is this? And she's like, Oh, yeah, that's Pokemon. Went to the store, went to Target, same Target I worked at. Went to, went to
Coming
Target.
full circle.
Yeah, we got a box. It was one of those Diamond and Pearl collector boxes, which had like a couple packs, maybe a
Yeah,
theme deck.
those
I'm
things
not
are
sure.
sick. Those
Yeah,
things are
they're
sick.
yeah. So I opened that. I distinctly remember my dad saying the words, "This isn't something we're gonna spend a lot of money on." Because he saw it. He saw the opening the packs, the gambling, like the light in my eyes.
Oh no. He
Turns
knew right
out,
away. It's bad.
yeah,
It's all good.
I know, and like Pokemon from then on has been my favorite like IP ever. I've been the biggest Pokemon nerd my entire life since then. Like I've never left the hobby. I've always been in it, whether it be the TCG, playing it, collecting it, playing the video games, like casually or competitively. Um, I've just I love I really love Pokemon.
It just really does have a way of being all encompassing in a way
Yep.
that it doesn't feel so I feel like sometimes when you go really into something, you get really burnt out, like really easily. But like I'm sure that happens a lot with people with Pokemon. You hear about it all the time, especially people who do this
Yeah.
full time and YouTubers and everything. They talk about burnout, but like I feel like the IP is so vast and so wide and encompassing that you really can really engross in it and engage in it in different ways and not get too tired of it for you can kind of just shift directions because like I like you have all have been involved with Pokemon since it came out basically in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. There was a period of time where I wasn't though, so there was like a period where I strictly wasn't. But when I when I re-established my connection with the hobby in 2016 with Pokemon Go, it was like I was in Pokemon Go, and then I shifted from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Cards, and I'm sure. I mean, someday I'll probably shift maybe when away from cards, and I'll go to something else like video games, virtual reality, or
Hmm.
maybe I'll go to my kids will be into it more and I won't be whatever you'll shift, right? But I don't
Yep.
see myself ever being able to, even if I wanted to, get away from Pokemon. Because like even if I got away from it, my dang old kids when they're younger, they're gonna get dragged into it, and it's gonna drag me back into it. It's like, oh dad, you look at you see these cards like, oh kids, you don't even know. Daddy got into some shit back in the days with Pokemon cards. You don't even know. Don't go to that YouTube, that old website YouTube. Don't you dare go there. What's YouTube, Daddy? Yeah, exactly. That's what it's gonna be like. So we won't go there, but no, Pokemon's one of those things that does seem pretty all encompassing. So I can see how you could say you've been kind of stuck with it, especially if you said you were getting in right around that like level X Diamond and Pearl. So okay, I was out of the hobby at that point, and like
Yep.
that era of Pokemon, I also wanted to have you on here because you're like a Diamond Pearl era specialty specialist,
Yeah.
and like I love that era, but I never knew about it until like now, until I've kind of discovered it when I re-entered the hobby because that was an era I left the hobby And kind of, I think a lot of people did. They call that like the dark ages, the
I
Pokemon dark age.
yeah.
And so it's cool that you kind of got into it then and you
I
didn't
know.
feel that way because like there's some cool stuff. Like Rising Rivals, like all those platinum sets, like some
Yep.
of the secret rare Pikachu's, like even if like you didn't have the nostalgia of the original Pikachu, the secret rare Pikachu's from like Rising Rivals would probably give you that nostalgia in some regard, just like the Evolutions ones does, for people who didn't ever experience that. So like I love Rising Rivals in that era. So it's cool that you got to experience that firsthand because I'm going back now and I'm experiencing that with people and like with myself. And it's always fun to see, you know, like every time someone opens a pack, it's always so cool. And the hit rates are so much easier than what we see now. So it feels better opening those packs. Like, and the
I
hollows feel
know.
good. You know, the hollows feel good to hit. So, because that Cosmos hollow is so cool. So it's cool to hear that that's when you got into it too. Okay, so you kind of got into it and you never got away from it, which is good. What you got there? Oh, that card's so cool. Is that the one from Rising? Oh, dude,
Yep.
nice. Nice, a
I
good grade. I
so
never see that in good condition. That's pretty
I
good.
pulled it myself.
Oh well, that yes, that's for sure. That makes sense. That's cool, man.
I
That's on the 9.
thank you. I literally just got my PSA bulk sub back from like January 2021. Um, and it basically just had all my mid era that I opened myself. Um, because I had like, I guess I'll talk about this when it comes to mid era. Like, I've always just been kind of obsessed with that uh part of Pokemon. Like, nothing's ever hit the same to me. Like mid era, like EX era, Diamond Pearl era, Black and White era. Those are just like the most nostalgic to me. I will say, before I get into that, I will say that when I was a kid and I was growing up, it didn't feel dead. It felt like Pokemon was alive and Pokemon was everything. To me, obviously, I was biased. Pokemon was like everything to me. I was just completely obsessed. But my friends loved it. We would open packs together. We would play against each other in the TCG. We played all the video games. We'd have sleepover nights. We'd all pull out our DS and we'd trade together. We'd battle. Like Pokemon was alive. Um, at we maybe everyone who had gotten out who was say like more like your age, sure, it was pretty dead for them. And the few who were left standing probably felt like, oh yeah, this is pretty dead because like the only people around me are just like other weirdos like me or like little kids. Like,
I wonder
you
why
know.
that was though, because it feels like it would have been they kept getting it get better, you know, like with
I know.
EXs and the level. It seems like it would
I
be like, oh,
know.
more,
I
you know.
know.
So that's
But
interesting. That's really
yeah.
cool to hear though, because like I've never heard that like from someone. So that's really interesting. And from your
Yeah.
perspective, I bet it probably was. And that's actually kind of that gives a lot more hope. We're back to feeling bullish. We're back to feeling bullish again on the youth. Okay, good. Hot-blooded youth again. Yes. Right. So
uh,
okay, so it wasn't really dead for you, but I guess for me, just from the outside looking in, I had moved to a different game, and
yep.
like maybe that's what made me not look at Pokemon as much because I legitimately don't remember Pokemon from that time. Like it's almost like after the Neo sets, it's like either my mind put up a wall or my game shops stopped buying it because like I stopped seeing it for the most
Yeah.
part. Like I don't even remember the e-reader sets. Like the e-reader sets, no way. I never saw. I stayed engaged with the hobby. I was an avid local. I was a local game shop rat. I like lived in local game stores. Like I
Yeah.
had family. My family had split up, so they went to different parts of the country, and so I'd visit in different parts of the country, and they would move around. So I wouldn't have like friends per se where they would be when I'd go visit. So like I would always go to the local game shop, right? And so like I just didn't see Pokemon after in that mid era, which is I guess why I thought it kind of died off. But
Yeah.
that's cool to hear that there were people still enjoying it. That makes me feel a lot more bullish on it. And you know, in about I don't know, 10 more years, we're gonna see, you know, another mid
We're
era
gonna
boom or something.
retire.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I think it was just like a coming of age kind of thing. Like Pokemon was totally just has always been marketed towards kids. And for you guys being the first kids who experienced Pokemon, there came to a point where you reached a certain age where other things became more interesting. Like the internet became more interesting, or playing multiplayer games with your friends online, or going to school and partying, or whatever. Like, that's how I see it, and that's exactly the same experience I had. People grew up and out of it. I was one of the few that stayed, and that is like what separates me from everyone else my age, and that separates, someone who's your age that stayed in from everyone else as well. Like, that's why we're able to have the kind of knowledge we do and the history with it that we do. It's just kind of being a weirdo, to be honest, being the one guy left out, like
Yeah.
the one guy who's still stuck around. Like, that's how I felt, honestly.
That's what it always feels like, I think, when you stick to your convictions about something, and when you are sure of yourself, but other people are sort of like, I don't know about that. It'll feel like that sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's cool, to hear that you are comfortable with that for as long as you were, because I think a lot of like what you said is true. We grew out of it in the middle age, like the younger to teenage years, probably,
Mhm.
because it wasn't cool to like Pokemon back then.
Yep.
I think it's cool now though. It feels a lot cooler. Like I mean, I can't speak to like what 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds in schoolyard and high school. If you bring out your backpack and you accidentally show your binder instead of the next assignments, and you're like, oh shit, if the kids are gonna be like, your friends will be like, yo, what the fuck is that? Like, you can't bring that out here. The girls will see that. Like, what are you trying to do? We're gonna get blacklisted. Or if they're like, hey, yo, bring that out here, and then the teacher's like, hey, put that away, dude. Wait a second, let me see. I got that Charizard too. Wait, your centering's off. That's a 9. Never mind. And then the teacher's like in on it too. So I just don't know what it's like now, but I think it's a lot cooler than it was. To be 100% honest, feels when Logan Paul, which I didn't know who that guy was before the Logan Paul.
Really?
I
Wow.
legitimately, the only thing I had heard about Logan Paul was the whole like Suicide Force thing, and I just knew he's a YouTuber. I didn't know he was like and like I know that's horrible because that's not what he's known for now. Like, not at
Mhm.
all. It shouldn't even be brought up probably because it's like
Yeah.
so under. But that was what I knew back about him. So like,
Yeah.
so that was I was out of the loop on that, but. I don't know what kids like these days, but it does seem like Pokemon's a lot cooler than it was when I was 15 years old for sure.
Okay, yeah. I'd say if you dropped your binder on the floor, you'd probably just you're already a nerd, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's a nerd." Or your friends are like, maybe in a more intimate setting, it's just like, "Oh, those are all like, oh, Pokemon cards. I love those." Every time I've shown my friends cards, it's never like, "Oh, you're a fucking nerd." Like, even like some of my girlfriend's friends, I remember, they came over one time, and one of her friends looked in the room because
Oh no. Oh no,
this is
don't
my
look in the room.
yeah, this is
It's
my
dark in
Pokemon
there.
room. This is my Pokemon room. And she said something like, "Oh, that's nerdy." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
Like,
it
it
is. Oh
is.
yeah, it is. You have no idea. You like
No, I know.
you don't know the half of it.
Yeah, but no, my friends, I think it kind of lights up the same childhood nostalgia that it does for all of us when they see it, because it's a much simpler nostalgia with more casual people who enjoy Pokemon but don't necessarily still collect or interact. It's very just like yeah, just nostalgic. I would say when I was very young, I even experienced nostalgia for Pokemon because I had gotten into it so young. When I was in 5th grade, I went to a summer camp. I brought all my cool cards to trade because Pokemon was like, Pokemon was a thing. Like, you would go to summer camp and you would talk about Pokemon and you would trade your cards. I went there, a bunch of kids stole my cards, all my best cards, and divvied it up between them
Ugh.
on one of the last days of the camp. And that, like, crushed me. Like, I remember going home to my mom and just, like, breaking down and being like, "I'm done with Pokemon." Like, I spent years I was, like, 10 or 11. I had spent years amassing that collection, like,
Those are pivotal
5
moments. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was, like, heartbreaking, like, because I couldn't get it back. I would see these kids with my cards in their hands, and it was just, like, the first time I'd ever gone out and put myself out there with Pokemon cards outside of my friends. So that kind of like pushed me into my bubble. And ever since then, I kept it to myself.
Hmm.
I had my mom give away all my cards, my entire childhood collection. And then a couple years later, about during the XY era, I got back in with me and my little brother because he loved them too. He's
Hmm.
3 years younger than me. He's 16 right now.
Oh,
Um,
nice. So you get
and
another generation to really kind of experience it
yeah,
too, which is cool.
yeah. So, and that's where all of these come from. Like I just got my sub back, and it's just a bunch of like, yeah, here's a cool one.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Dude, that place can sick. Yeah.
Yeah, just a bunch of stuff that I cracked open myself back in like 2015, 2016. I was watching Leonhardt and Listed Leaf. They had just like had their channel going for a couple years. It was my only outlet for it. Um, I was completely obsessed then. Like I was on Pokemon.com website. I was looking at the set list. I was memorizing them. I was going on eBay. I was looking for the best deal on packs. I was going on Amazon. I was buying $3 Call of Legends packs in 2016. Imagine that. What's it now? Like 250 a pack? Something
200,
ridiculous.
250. Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
lucky, you get them for like 200, but yeah,
Yeah.
250
Like
is pretty rough, like
it
on that.
was dirt cheap back then. Like EX era had actually appreciated like a decent amount, which was surprising. But Diamond and Pearl and Heart Gold Soul Silver like retail or a bit above back in like 2015 and 2016, which is something I've like wanted to ask people who were in the space then, but I've never been able to talk to them about that. Like what prices were for that mid era stuff when nobody really cared about it, except for some kid helping out some store buying their bags who's 12 or 13 on Amazon. Like imagine that that's one of your few customers. It's just
Well, so
insane.
some of that information is out there on YouTube channel, one of the
Yeah.
OG YouTube channels. It's called Primetime Pokemon.
Oh, I love prime
Yeah,
time.
he's
Yep.
just he does a lot of the openings just like to show the tan, see what it is, and some of them, not all of them, he actually says how much it costs at that time, so you get
Yeah.
sort of a timestamp. And it's so funny listening to him, hearing him sometimes talk about some of these tens. He'll open like a tin with fire red leaf green and like delta species and like 4 banger EX era packs. And he'll be like, this thing's getting a little bit pricey right now, 30 $35. These packs, you got to pull the Charizard or bust. And he'll pull like an EX of something other than the Charizard. He's like,
Oh
I guess
no.
it's not the Charizard, but that's cool. And it's just so funny to put it into perspective because, like you said, the prices are so different now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that I think, like you have alluded to, it comes to with time in the hobby. You've had the benefit, and I think you'll probably have the benefit of having that sort of longevity in the hobby, as you've already sort of stated in
Yeah.
it. And it does seem to benefit that. Like a lot of the time we talk about, especially on these investment channels, we kind of go him and ha and go back and forth about like time in the hobby versus timing the hobby. It's like, what's the best? What's the best? It's like obviously everyone knows it's a little bit of both, but definitely it seems like you gain experience by that time in the hobby. Like even if you lose everything, like you had with your binder, your experience, you lost everything, but your experience was still there. Your
Yep.
nostalgia stayed, the feelings stayed, your knowledge stayed. And I think that's something a lot of people can really relate to because, a lot of people, they lost what this segment, when we talk about the beginning of like how you got into Pokemon, always brings up such nostalgia. I love
And
this whole segment because we always talk about, I feel like it gets into, it's like a dark, stormy area when we get into the era where like mom threw away the Pokemon cards or
yeah.
garage sale happened, or the girlfriend said that wasn't cool and it made you feel self-conscious about it, and then you like stop collecting. Like everyone has some level of like that story, and it's always a journey, right? Because then you get through it, like the hero's journey, you get through that darkness, and then you get through the other side, and you're like stronger for it, and you're more convicted, and you know what you love. So it's always cool to hear that. But I did kind of want to lead into this because you alluded to something earlier, and I already know the answer to this, but I wanted to kind of discuss it on the channel here because
Mhm.
great to hear different perspectives. But I like to ask everyone, as far as like Pokemon is concerned, you've already said that Pokemon is pretty much your whole life, but like as far as like your job, like you said earlier, you worked at Target at a certain point, but is Pokemon something like content creating? I know you just started your YouTube channel, but I know
Yeah.
you personally. I know you're a lot more interactive with the hobby. Is Pokemon full time for you, or do you have like a day job, or what is the sit?
So so it just switched recently. I'm a full-time college student. I'm pursuing a 4-year degree in business. I'm gonna try a minor in Japanese. Like Japanese, learning it has been a passion of mine for a couple years. That's like my focus. I need to keep that my priority. But I just quit Target um 3 weeks ago,
Woo,
and
man, that
now I'm doing uh this full time. Um
whew,
which
nice. So you
yeah,
make money selling Pokemon cards, is what you're trying to tell me.
yeah, I'm a
Oh my
disgusting, horrible
God.
person.
Wow, wow, wow. That's insane to me. Now you're saying that it's better than Target? Wow, that's weird to me, Colson. That's weird. No, congratulations. It sounds like you're pretty happy with your decision at this point. How are you feeling though? 3 weeks in now. I mean, we're friends, so I know that,
Yeah,
but it's kind of a cool topic to talk about. I know somebody as young as yourself. You have your life ahead of you, and
I
like
know.
everyone is gonna have their own opinions on other people's lives. But just
Yep.
hearing that you're happy, that's kind of a good thing, and I'm curious to hear how it's going because just in my experience in the last month or so, it probably would have been the least if I were to tell someone to like go full time in Pokemon in the last month or two, it wouldn't have been exactly when I would do so. Because the market's been in a bit of the dumps lately. It's been moving, but it's been a little bit rougher than it was.
Yep.
Let's say stormier seas than it was in 2021.
um so I'm only able to do this because of my history with Pokemon. I came in 2020 and I still knew everything. I still knew a decade's worth of knowledge and time spent in the hobby, learning sets, learning cards. Nobody was talking about mid-era. Nobody was like, obviously, it's coming to the forefront a lot more. We have these low pop stonkers everywhere, like whatever. I don't care about all that. Just the conversations around it didn't exist. Now it does. Now it's actually being recognized as part of the hobby, even like, prices rivaling some that of WotC. Like I came in, I knew everything. I targeted specifically those cards. Like I got into modern a bit. I loved the Sun and Moon stuff. Like I love the altarts, the tag teams, and the rainbows. But quickly after I had spent a lot of my money at the time and a lot of my research into modern, I was kind of like, I don't know. I just really want to find this mid era stuff. Like this is what I really care about. I spent like months and months hunting for white flayed. Not I wasn't hunting for white flayed, but I was receiving white flayed copies of mid era hollows, level X's, whatever, that I thought were gonna be near mint on eBay. And I had a certain breaking point with that. Like I was like, I want to grade these. I want to be like my favorite part of the hobby is grading. And just because not because of like, oh, I think grading is the best thing ever for the hobby. These prices are so awesome. I just love the chase and the gamble. I love mint cards. Um, that's why I love grading. Like not talking about any of the fundamentals behind it or any kind of market analysis on that.
Just the
Um,
process, the whole
yeah, just the
process.
process.
And I
Yeah,
appreciate that. And as someone who grades a lot, like now for other people, not for my personal collection, I'll admit that I get a lot of I have fun like through those submissions, like seeing the grades, seeing the reveals, like looking at the
yeah,
cards, guessing, and then sending them, see what it comes back as. It's fun. So I
yeah,
I will admit to you that's true. Yeah.
yeah. So I got a bunch of 7 and 8 condition cards. I had a breaking point. My entire collection was bags,
uh
modern, and white played mid era, which are about, the baggiest you can get. Like rainbow rares and white played mid era. Like
yeah,
uh
that doesn't
it,
get much more illiquid than that
no.
as someone who has a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So um I just started talking to some friends. I met some friends online, and they told me about this cool, mysterious place on the other side of the ocean called Japan. And to get to that place, they used a secret website they found in the crevices of the internet called Bai.
We don't say that word on this channel.
Sorry.
We don't say that word on this
I've
channel.
said too much. But yeah. So
Dangerous on that.
it was about like a year ago, like a year, give or take a couple months, probably like maybe 15 months. I don't know. I found Bai, and I have been on there ever since, and I haven't bought like anything on eBay ever since. I've just been doing Japanese cards. I've been grading Japanese cards. At first, my intention was just like, oh, build an awesome collection, build a huge collection for myself. Once the $50 tier came out at PSA, like literally everything changed. I got a sub back, 10 card, 50 sub, 9 10s, 1 9. The money from that was stupid. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna take this money and I'm gonna grade all the 300 plus more cards that I've been hoarding for a while from all these Japanese cards I've been hoarding, and I'm gonna do that. I've done that ever since, and now I'm at the point where I'm not going to talk about any specific figures, but I was making a very large multiple more doing this than Target. And, you know, I look at life as a very like precious and finite thing. Like I know that I don't have forever, and I know that we don't all have forever. So if I want to pursue something I love and something I've dreamed of doing forever, which is Pokemon cards, content creation, ever since I was a little kid, I grew up on YouTube. I grew up with this stuff. I want to pursue it now because I'm at a point in my life where I'm making more money than I would be at Target. I have more time because I'm just a full-time college student. I have a lot of time outside of that to do whatever I want before I kind of enter the workforce once I get my degree. So, why not take the shot now?
And I can tell you something that should give you a world of comfort and allow you to sleep at night every single night until you eventually stop selling Pokemon cards, is that when you decide, and if it doesn't work out for you, that Pokemon isn't for you, Target will be there for you.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll still be there for you. They'll have open arms for you, baby. So no wasted opportunity there, friend. Yep. It's not like they're gonna be full. They're sorry, we don't need you anymore, Colson. They'll be happy. They'll be willing and happy to take you back. So just so you know, anyone out there who's worried about Colson, Target's gonna be there for him. Okay, don't worry. No, we wish you the best in the endeavor. I think you're gonna do well, and you're already doing well. I like I said, thanks. I alluded to, we're friends already, so I already know that you're doing okay with this. Right now in Pokemon cards is a very, very interesting time because I think you said it as well with Japanese that like it's doing really well. That's not always been the case. Like Japanese cards were always considered the bags, to be except for unless you were some grandma's basement dwelling guy who's just constantly pumping them. But other than that, like they weren't really well loved until this last couple of years. They've definitely been appreciated more because I do feel like, and you guys, the chat's gonna roast me for this, but like the fact that you can't read the cards is a bit of a deterrent to a lot of Americans until you put it in a plastic slab and then it tells you what it is in the top in English. But wait, what if it was in Japanese? What if they actually put the slabs and then like the original? Because then no one would want it, right? So the only reason they want it is because the slab is allowing it to be read. But anyway, I digress. This doesn't have to be, well, maybe it should be, but like Japanese, I do feel like the print quality is better. Like it's literally made on better stock and it definitely grades easier. But I do feel like the prices that Japanese were like sort of getting as far as a premium for tens, they probably are still higher now, but they were definitely a lot higher a little earlier in the year. They've come down quite a bit because people realize that like they hand them out, right? Because aren't tens more often? Because I'm wondering when the straw that breaks the camel's back is going to be for modern Japanese. Because VMAX Climax. Okay, let's talk about VMAX Climax. Let's show that a little bit right now. Because I think this channel, we can't go through and talk about Pokemon in Modern for 3 hours at a time and not talk about VMAX Climax a little. You open a box of VMAX Climax. Pretty much every character rare you get out of there is going to be minty, and they're all great characters. You get like the Eevees, all these popular characters, Charizard, Pikachu. grade every single one of them. They're mostly going to get 9.5s or 9.10 or 10s if you go CGC, and like especially with the way the print quality is. Sometimes even with print lines, they can get a 10. Because
Oh yeah.
he doesn't care about print lines. They don't care at all. PSA on the other end, they do care a little bit. So you got to know your grading. You got to know which grading company to send what cards to. But my point is this: like, what point do people stop paying that premium for that graded 10 for Japanese because it's known? And then at what point is it that the English, because it doesn't have as many premium 10s, it gains that value because the chase is more there? And it's sort of like it's like the Evolution's Charizard event. Evolution Charizard $30, but PSA 10 Evolution Charizard is like, I don't know, a couple thousand, few thousand. Whatever. It's ridiculous. It's not because if you get a pack fresh, Evolution Charizard and send it, you're gonna get a 10 and it's gonna be worth thousands. It's because you're gonna get a pack fresh and it's garbage. And you're gonna send it and get 7 straight out of the pack, or an 8 and get slaughtered. You're gonna feel like the worst you've ever felt because you sent it $200 and some YouTuber told you it's the best card you ever pulled. But like it's not because it's good print quality that it's that expensive. It's actually the opposite. It's because it's bad print quality. So like with Japanese, all of it being as good as it is, do you think that might hold it back a little? It's clearly not right now. If you tell that to the Umbreon VMAX alternate art in Japanese, like that it's being held back by its good print quality, it would literally spit in your face from the moon, the giant moon, and it would laugh at you, laughs in Moonbreon in $1,000 bills. But I think that there is going to be a point, and this is maybe just me being like anti-Japanese, I guess, because it feels like Japanese, it always was the redheaded stepchild. The things that people liked about it are just because it grades easier, right? And the grading mania might be what's propping it up. Would you maybe think there's some validity? Now, we're not talking about Japanese exclusive arts because that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. No. Okay. So, as someone whose business revolves around grading Japanese cards, I'm probably a bit more bearish than you'd think. I have two things on this. Japanese cards are way easier to 10, and any set card in Japanese has the potential to destroy any English PSA 10 pop when it comes to like vintage, mid or whatever. We already see that for a bunch of cards. Look at the Secret Wonders Charizard. What's that? That's a pretty well pop card in English. It's probably like 20, 30 around there.
Hardly any, because that mid-gen pop, that like you were saying, the quality from that era.
Yeah, and then you look at Japanese. Oh yeah, I don't even know what it's at now, but it's probably like pop 100, 120, 130, 40, like whatever it is. Like that card is infinitely less popular, but it has an infinitely higher 10 rate. And that reason isn't just that Japanese cards grade easier. It's because PSA and CGC don't know how to grade Japanese cards. Like, I'm just going to be honest. They have no clue what they're doing with like new back Japanese. I send cards in with scratches, 10s. I'll send cards in with print lines, 10s. Whitening, 10s. Bends, 9s. Like, they have literally no clue what they're doing. It's the only reason why I've been able to have a 10 rate so high. Maybe I'm like self-deprecating a bit. Maybe I'm like underselling what I'm buying, like the conditions of my cards. Most of my cards are extremely minty and they're all like pack fresh or whatever. But I've seen like too many bad cases, personal experience with CGC and PSA, where they do not, this angers me, as you can tell. They do not care about grading Japanese cards. They don't care. Like, they just slap a 10 on it and keep it pushing. Like, that's literally what they do. And you look at the pops, it shows that, at least at PSA. It'll be like 90% 10 pop, 10%
200,000 cards a week, Colson. They grade they I don't think they can, if they wanted to, spend more time to care. I think they might think they want to, but their boss is over them with the whip, just cracking the whip, telling them to grade more cards, Timmy.
But would you agree with me on this, that they give much lower grades on English cards, and they seem to know the damages on English cards a bit better?
So I'm not a Japanese like grader as much, so my experience doesn't lie as much with
Mhm.
Japanese, so I can't speak from that. I grade a lot of English though, and I use a lot of CGC because of the quicker turnaround.
Yeah,
And my experience with PSA is mostly through the higher tier express turnarounds on smaller orders, so it's a more limited number of cards. So I also have my conspiracy tinfoil theories about those express tiers. I think they grade them a little bit more lenient sometimes because
I
you're
agree.
paying more, because they're not irritated that they're going through a slog of backlog orders. It probably goes to a different guy who's like the express order guy who maybe he gets paid a little more. I don't know, but it does feel like the express orders, instead of those five certs, if I see a five cert, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a nine that's a 10, basically. It's a nine
Yep.
that should be a 10, and I'm going to potentially look at it and decide if it's going to be a crack, candidate, crack the case and send it, try to get a better grade at a different company, 9.5 at CGC or 10 again at the same company. But I do think though that like, yeah, the grading companies, they definitely don't know what they're doing. I would agree with you on that. I agree with you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
stand, I abhor the grading companies, but they're definitely like the least, my least favorite part about the hobby is the grading companies themselves. Grading though,
Mm.
as a process, like what you said, I respect that and I can see that because I myself also enjoy that. And I know a lot of people, like Pokenomics Jake talks about it. I know he likes the process of grading. He specifically likes it, and I get that
Yep.
that people are like that. Um, but like, yeah, I think that I agree with you on the grading thing. As far as like Japanese is concerned, I think the public's going to go back to so here's what I think could change it, and we've had people talk about this. I've heard it. I'm not the first one to say this, but if they were to ever regulate the schedule for the TCG and get the sets, the English sets and the Japanese to release at the same time, it would alleviate a lot of stress on their printing facilities in Japan by the rest of the world trying to vulture on all of their, because when the new set comes out, everyone wants it first because they don't care what language it is. They're going to try to get it. And so it depletes that Japanese market where the Japanese market needs it and they want it, and they've expressed that it pisses them off when people do that, and they won't sell you. In fact, I've tried as a business, you can't get distribution in Japan.
No,
You
you
have to go
can't.
through a third party.
Yep.
It's just not allowed.
Yep.
And so they don't want you buying from Japan to ship out. And so by releasing their sets months earlier, or a month or so, however long earlier than the English and the other language sets, they're really encouraging the world to try to get it early. And so by just sort of putting those two together and just releasing it at the same time,
I
it
know.
would literally solve so many problems. And but it would also create some problems potentially for the Japanese market, the Japanese Western market, because I have a theory that I think a lot of the Westerners who are into Japanese cards would not be into them given the exact same option for their same native language cards. So if you were to give them two packs next to each other for the respective price at the same time, they both released the same date. They didn't get tired of the English one because they saw it a month before on all the YouTube channels being open because it was released before, but they got it the same day. I do believe that most English speaking natives would probably go for the English one and collect that rather than Japanese. And it would
Yeah.
maybe do something to that market. So,
Yeah.
that being said, it feels like it's sort of an artificial sort of liking of something that if you were to pull that rug away, it would reveal the true underneath, the unswept floor that was underneath there that is Japanese cards. And I'm sorry, anyone who's watching this right now who loves to collect Japanese. I know you're out there and I know you just hate me right now. You're shaking your fist, shaking, just banging the keyboard and commenting. My comment section is be lit right now. And I love that. I love you guys. I love all of you guys in the comment section, even the ones who are just just pissed at me right now. But I'm just saying that for so many years people don't care about Japanese. Now they suddenly it's like the best thing ever. But I feel like that was all because they couldn't get English, and then they like got this hype that was, oh, I see it early now.
I so I have a couple things on that. I see it's hilarious to me how, you know, the Pokemon in Japan, they are so restrictive about their product. and they have it like locked down. Like nobody's getting it from here unless, again, stores are like maybe even disobeying the rules and selling it to foreigners. Like I
They're
know
not
those are rules.
supposed to. They're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
supposed to. So they
yeah.
are. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Like, and that is it. Yet they release it a couple months before or a month before, and they have to juggle that ball right now with modern. Like I don't know what they're thinking with that. That makes no sense to me. I think their work would be a lot more alleviated. Maybe they're trying to manufacture some kind of artificial demand, and like maybe they are able to print more to account for foreigners to come in and buy this stuff. Like who knows what they're
You and I
thinking? We have
both
no
know
idea.
that's not true, Colson. You and I
I
both know what they've said publicly.
yeah.
Can't print to put demand. They literally
Yeah,
don't
I
want
know.
that
I
hype.
know
They
that
don't want that.
they don't want to yeah, I know. They don't want to overprint. Like overproduction is like extremely no go in Japan. Like the very
Dangerous.
limited space, very limited whatever. Like it's a much smaller country.
Mm.
It's dangerous, right? Um on the modern side, like when it comes to liking the cards, even I, someone who grew up with English, obviously, I enjoyed the Japanese stuff. I would open so in X and Y era, I would buy booster boxes, Japanese ones, and open them because I got them early, but I also just I didn't like the fact that I couldn't read it when I was younger, especially. But it was fun. It was cheap. Like it was like a $40, $50 booster box, whatever. Same thing it is now. Um, but I don't know. It was fun. And now, like with modern, the quality and texture of the cards, I much prefer that in Japanese. When
That
I
I
go,
understand. It's far
yeah,
better. Yeah, yeah. I
like
totally understand that. Yeah.
once they started doing textured cards, I am Japanese all the way. When it comes to mid era, though, down the road, I want my mid era collection in English. I do. I That's what I grew up with, and I think it just looks better in English. Like I just enjoy it more in English. Yeah, but once you get to like black and white, you start getting EXs, the EX forts. I am the biggest EX Japanese fort shill you'll ever meet. I'm like one of the 10 people who like those cards in Japanese because the texture is just we haven't seen like texture and quality on that level since then. Um, I just yeah, I'm obsessed with that. But
Because of you, I've seen some of those because you posted pictures and
yeah,
stuff of them that I'm just like, whoa, like
I
that is
know.
a next level. Like, because everyone knows that the new Japanese cards, they are a little bit better textured,
Yeah.
but it's not like the black and white ones, which
No,
are
it's not like that.
extremely
Yeah.
bad. It's like, wait a second. You're supposed to move forward, not go backwards. Like, why'd you go
Yeah.
backwards from here? Like,
Yeah.
I guess they were trying to make something special about black and white, which there's not much. So there we are. There's that. Sorry, I know you
Uh,
like black and white. That I can agree with you on the mid era, Diamond and Pearl EX era, but black and white's where you lose me.
I will say black and white does not have a lot much going on when it comes to promos, exclusives, just the identity. It was a lot better in the video game side.
I've heard
Um,
that. I've heard it was a
it,
very good video game.
yeah, just like the competitive uh advancements they made in the black and white era was massive. The story advancements, like what they to adding to the depth of Pokemon was huge. Like the animations, everything, the black and white era was super revolutionary for a lot of things. But when you do look at the TCG, it almost looks like a downgrade compared to the sets prior, where it was you would get Call of Legends and then you open Black and White Base and Emerging Powers, which are some of the worst sets ever. Like you go from like one of the coolest sets with English exclusives, shiny legendaries, like all the hollows in Call of Legends are English exclusive arts. And then you go to Black and White and it's just a shitstorm basically. Like they totally dropped the ball. I love it. I grew up with it. That's why I probably love it more than most, but I don't know. I can agree that it was yeah, it was kind of rough.
Yeah, it's the era that I just love to just make fun of the most, and I need to get Ava on here so I can really just
Yeah.
go into black and white and just really make someone feel bad about loving it because I know she's a big defender of it. But you know what? Anyway, the next question we'll lead into is sort of a good question because they go into after all that, but it's into more about you as the type of collector you are. But I always like to ask like what you consider yourself as. Like, do you consider yourself a collector? Do you consider yourself a player? Do you consider yourself a flipper or like what do you identify as in this hobby? And like why? I guess.
So I have been all of these things, and I guess I would say I am all these things, and the ratios of them just keep changing as time goes on, and they're always changing. Like when I was growing up, full collector with a little bit of player sprinkled in. And then once I got a bit older, I was like more player sprinkled in and less collecting because I wanted to play with my friends. I thought that was really fun making decks. I loved it. Um, Nowadays, a year ago, I would have said like 80% collector, 20% flipper because my business a year ago was not the level that it was now. It wasn't doing great because I couldn't grade except for CGC. And I'm not even going to get into my experience with CGC, but yeah, like now, the point I'm at now, I would be doing a disservice to myself, my girlfriend, like my family, my business, my future, if I just focus on collecting. I would love I would love to collect everything. Like I know so many different cards and I love so many different cards. I'm just obsessed with artists, like art, everything with Pokemon, but it just doesn't make sense for me to collect right now. I'm buying nothing for my collection. Um, I just need to focus on furthering myself in the hobby and furthering my goals like financially. Um, and just, creating a platform for myself online. It just wouldn't make sense to tie up so much money in this kind of like selfish side of my interaction with the hobby because like my collection doesn't get me anywhere, it doesn't get my girlfriend anywhere. Like my goal with all this is really to just build up enough money to have a down payment for a house. I want to be able to buy a house pretty soon. um Once I get out of school, that's my goal. Like I need to focus on that, and I can collect when a card I own doesn't represent a percentage of my net worth. So that's what I have to say on
Yeah, I always say that I'm too poor to own Pokemon cards right now too, but
that.
no, but what you're getting at is exactly true. And one concept that I think a lot of people in this hobby, especially a lot of like just pure collectors, sometimes have trouble with, especially if you've
Yeah.
never sold a card, if you've never let go of a card, you've never had to, or you don't make any money on the hobby, which is totally fine. Even if you make a lot of money on the hobby, that's fine.
Oh yeah.
But one of the things that like I think um that you can do is you can love a card that you don't own. Like you
Yep.
can love something and not own the thing, and
Yep.
you can sell that thing and still be attached to it and have the experience and still interact with the hobby in a positive way. So I think that's seems to be what you're finding, and that's definitely what I found too. Because I'll be honest, that's sort of where I'm at. I'm like you said, I loved your answer. I'm a mixture of everything, and that's what I like to hear from people is that they don't identify as like any one thing in particular and like put a flag in the ground and say
Yeah.
that's this is me and this is it, because like we change and our interaction with the hobby changes. So I think that was a great answer. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
that being said, I kind of like to swerve in from that question and go to a little bit more of a sort of a fun question. But we haven't talked a lot about specific Pokemon yet. And with your name being Eternacity Collectibles on
Yep.
Instagram, like I have to ask, like, what's your favorite Pokemon? And if you have a favorite Pokemon, would you choose that Pokemon to be your partner Pokemon? Or if you had to have a partner Pokemon, what would it be? Because I
So
think that's a fun way to, hear what people would say.
Dialga,
Oh,
and
nice.
yes, Dialga is like when I saw Dialga as a kid, all those legendaries, like specifically Dialga and Garatina, so hyped to see the Garatina Love and Lost Origin. That alternate art is gorgeous. But like when I saw those as a kid, I was like, these are the coolest things I've ever seen. Like Dialga, Garatina, Rayquaza, like Groudon, Kyogre, like all these big badass legendaries, like that is always what has stuck with me the most.
So you're
Legendary
riding up
Pokemon.
on the Dialga, like
Yeah,
riding up
yeah,
on
like the 40-foot tall massive time dragon. That's what I'd want
hell yeah,
in the
hell
real
yeah,
world.
that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Ain't no, Charmander, Bulbasaur,
Now maybe I'd get a Litten if because I like cats. I just got a kitten
Oh,
recently, my first kitten ever.
what kind of cat?
Um,
Like what color?
so she is a Siberian.
Oh, I
And
love
she's
those.
like,
Yeah, they're really big,
she's,
fluffy cats. Yeah.
yeah, she's like white with a little bit of like orange and brown speckled in, like she a bunch of different colors, multicolored, but
Picture it
she's
didn't happen. Okay, I'm gonna have to see pictures after
yeah,
this.
no,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
can, of course.
Go subscribe to Colson just for the cat pictures, and spam his YouTube and spam his Instagram with subs so you can see some cat pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely think that's probably the first time anyone's ever said a legendary from that generation. So we
Yeah.
appreciate first time answers here. I think I've had at least two or three people say like Charizard or something, so
Yeah.
I appreciate a different answer. Okay, and so another fun one to sort of go to here that we I always skip over, but I'm glad that we don't. But since we're talking about the hobby and the longevity of the hobby, I'm curious as to see what you think about it. And do you think it's going to be here in 10 years still? And if it is here, do you still see yourself interacting with it?
I see myself interacting with it, of course. Um, I'm not leaving Pokemon. Like, I'll just say that. I've been in it my whole life. I'm not leaving Pokemon. Like, maybe when I'm like 50 and 60 and there are other cooler things. But for myself, no. For the rest of the market and everyone else, I've gone back and forth with this question a million times in my head. Like, I have considered these broader, like, market discussions so much that I don't even know where I land anymore. But all I would say is that I am a bit scared of where your generation, my generation are going to be at financially. And while it does look good that we are coming into, our working years, our money making years, I'm a little bit scared about the broader economy and how that will affect our wages, how that'll affect all our living expenses, food, gas, whatever. That part scares me a bit, especially how inflation is going and where if you look at like wages for people your age are at right now, like it is significantly um there's a big difference between that and then 20 years ago when people were your age and what they were making, like in relativity to everything.
Colson,
Um,
surely though the powers that be want to lift up the lower class and the middle
yeah.
class and bring us all to their level. So I wouldn't worry about that as much because surely the benevolent powers that be want to all lift us all up and we're gonna all be better off than our parents were. Because that's how it works, right? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Okay, yeah.
No, 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 yeah. So, but that is pretty much how I feel on that. But when it comes to Pokemon, it is a multi-generational hobby with multiple generations now experiencing Pokemon in a very like intimate and emotional level from their childhood or even outside of their childhood now. Um, Pokemon just I don't have any words better to say than that it just hits different. Like Pokemon literally just hits different than all other IPs for so many people, and that shows in the popularity and success of Pokemon. Like I if I'm gonna choose any IP to stick with and ride with and put my money into, it's gonna be Pokemon.
And
Hands
how are
down.
people supposed to leave the hobby when every time it starts to slow down, they put out a banger set like Lost Origin and then a UPC with three alternate art
Oh, they're not
Charizards?
letting you leave. They're not
Not
letting
just
you.
one, three. Like they're like,
Ridiculous.
hold on. You said you were getting out of the hobby. Well, maybe just one more set. They're like, maybe just one more, and then that's what you're saying. You're like, oh well, I thought it was done here, but I guess so. Yeah, I agree with you in that. I think that the IP is strong, and even as a Pokemon bear, I
Yeah,
consider myself somewhat bearish on the
yeah, me
IP.
too.
it's still something that I consider to be strong enough that I sell Pokemon cards full
You
time.
can make a business out of. Yep.
Yeah, so I
And
mean, and I would agree with you on that statement. I think a lot of people watching this would probably at least feel somewhat where we're coming from in that. I think it's okay to definitely disagree, obviously,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that there's a lot of reason because I've seen myself in this hobby. I've seen dark days where literally LGSs were run out of town. Like the hobby existed, but nobody wanted to be in it, and it just wasn't profitable.
Yep.
And it was really a rough time, and I definitely could see that time coming back again for a period of time. And, like, we're sort of
Oh
in
yeah.
that period right now, but at the same time, like, Pokemon's doing the best job it's
Oh,
ever done,
oh
like
yeah.
knocking it out of the park with everything. There's like this new era. I mean, the whole like time travel thing seems kind of really cool, actually. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah,
And
dude.
it just seems like as long as they keep pushing, as long as they keep moving forward, they might even eventually fix some of these things that we've talked about in this podcast that were like more generational problems. Like, I feel like there's a bit of a bias against the West, the Japanese culture. They keep the best arts and the best stuff just because we want our culture to have it so that they don't, sort of thing. And maybe they'd never admit that, and maybe that's me being a
They
little
would
bit
never admit that.
presumptuous, but it might have something, a little bit of like an anti-Westerner kind of, a tinge to why they get their sets first and why they get the best trophy cards and all this kind of stuff. But if that could get fixed, I could see a future in the next, maybe not the next year, but the next 5 years, 10 years, where they meld the sets coming out and they sort of fix that timing issue, and then
Yeah.
they fix their printing issues, and so English cards maybe become of the quality that Japanese cards are. So then we're not sitting here arguing about, oh well, I wish I could read the card, and you're like, yeah, but it's better quality in Japan, so even if you don't care about reading the card, it looks better. So then there's not really that argument. Then you're just like, oh, what do you really like? So I can
Yep.
see a world where Pokemon gets better, just like I could see a world where it stagnates or gets worse. So, and it's important to definitely look at all those different, avenues, I think. And maybe we're just overanalyzing it because we're sitting on YouTube talking for an hour and a half about, God knows what in Pokemon, but I guess that's what they pay us the big bucks to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'll say like they Pokemon has always known how to innovate enough. They have never gone they've never, you know, taken us off our feet and swept us to the moon. Like we like they've never rocked us like other franchises would, like Final Fantasy, or just like these
Or Dragon Ball
like
Super.
Zelda. Yeah, Dragon Ball Super, like Zelda, like they put so much time and effort into these games, these cards, whatever it is, like just the IP, and innovate and take it to the next level. Like you look at like Breath of the Wild or like the Final Fantasy VII remake, like these insane, huge things that just totally reinvent this brand. Pokemon is, in my opinion, they haven't done that like ever. Pokemon Go was the biggest innovation they ever had, but that wasn't even like a TCG thing. That was literally just like, oh, this is a game, and it showed like this is a game that, it was super good idea.
Oh, this is
Like
brilliant.
amazing. Like the most brilliant
Game
phone game
changing.
ever. It was the best phone game ever. Like I'm gonna be honest with that. Like that when Pokemon Go came out,
What it did for the
like,
world was pretty special. That's what the Pokemon Go thing was. Like what
oh
it,
yeah, yep,
everyone, you'd go
yep.
outside, you'd see everyone, you'd be like, oh, hey,
It
what
was
team are you on?
amazing. It was
Even,
amazing.
people of different ages, like everyone. It's
It was the
crazy.
coolest thing ever. It was the cool. I would walk downtown and everybody was staring at their phones, walking around, catching Pokemon on Gibble Day to find their shiny Gibbles or spinning Pokemon stops. Like the streets were flooded in my smaller, like mid-sized, Northwest Washington town. Like it, insane, dude.
Could you
It,
believe it that there are actually people who never downloaded the app and played? There are actually,
I know it's crazy.
and they're an unrepresented portion of this community, of this world. They exist because I have streams sometimes, and I'll mention Pokemon Go, and in my streams, one of my giveaways, I usually give away one of the pins for Pokemon Go that you get from the pin boxes, either Valor, Mystic, and
Yeah.
instinct. And so I asked him, I'm like, hey, I assume just everyone knows what team they are. And I'm like, hey, what team are you in Pokemon Go? Some people have told me that they never played it and they had no,
Oh,
and it blows my mind. I'm just like,
I know.
and so if you're one of those people watching, I appreciate you. You are seen, you are heard. Down below, hashtag the Pokemon left behind, because you are hashtag Pokemon left behind. You are the Pokemon left behind, and I won't leave you behind. But anyway, those people exist, Colson, and they're a rare
Yeah.
breed, but they
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah. And to go off of what I said, Pokemon just like let that game die. Like it's not dead. It's still a huge game. It's still super successful. It's made so much money, but they didn't innovate or anything for years. Like the graphical enhancements were like 0 to none. Like if you load that game up on your phone, it's still laggy and slow.
Yeah,
Like
I think there's a lot to do with that with the development side of it. Like
yeah.
they don't own the development side,
Oh
developmental.
yeah,
That's a
Niantic.
Niantic
Yeah.
thing. Pokemon like has the skin that they own sort of
Mhm.
thing. And then like Niantic, they do the whole the graph. I think they do everything else. So
But I do know that Niantic has collabed with them even in like if I remember correctly, like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, if you know those games on the Switch, Niantic was part of that too. Like it seems like they have some kind of relationship and probably some kind of
yes,
closeness in development.
they have, yes, they definitely
Yeah.
have a relationship with Pokemon, but it's just like it doesn't seem like it's as like integrated as
Yeah.
we may think per se.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I agree with you on that. I think they let that game die.
Yeah.
Like it took them 4 years to put out like the battling in the game, and
I
the battling
know.
wasn't anything that was even to write. It was just like meh, tapping and like it wasn't what we were waiting 4 years for. You know what I mean?
No. No.
So they could have literally just used, and the reason apparently they didn't use the thing that we were used to with just the four moves in Pokemon that we're used to battling system, is because that was like something Pokemon owned the rights to, and they couldn't
Hmm.
use that for the video game because it would
So we
like,
just had to
yeah, because
we
it
just
like
had to spam tap.
theoretically Pokemon would never need to make another handheld game like for Game Boy again
Yeah.
if you could just play it on your handheld the same. You would always you just keep your same and you just add to it like forever, and then you could play. It's not, let's be real, Pokemon, like you said, isn't innovating. They're not going to create a new style of gameplay.
Yep.
And so I think that's why they wouldn't allow it to be on that handheld game, because it would
Yep.
potentially interfere with their moneymaker, which is the Game Boy games. They've released two releases of every single. They are so brilliant. Like Pokemon Company is so good at making money off of us that they have literally always been screwing us since the beginning by
Yeah.
adding the red and blue, or green and red in Japan, I think it is. And then like they add the other
Yellow.
element, the yellow, when they could like, for in America, they could just hose us even more. At least with yellow, they changed the gameplay a little bit. So that was that, but they used everything else the same.
Yeah,
But
dude.
like
I
they've
mean,
always known that they don't care. They just want to take our money. They just want to take as much of it as they can, literally as much and as
yes.
frequently as they can, to the
Yes.
point where they release the same game with two different colors and
Yes.
they tell us to buy it both. And that's the gimmick.
Yes.
So like let's be real, they know how to make money for sure.
Yep. And
But and they're not going to cut into that moneymaker by giving Pokemon Go access to that
oh
sweet,
no.
sweet
Oh no.
integrated turn-based four move one ability, genius basis for probably a Final Fantasy ripoff, but they're not going to give that up, baby. No way.
I know. And
Which is a shame.
it's pretty wild to me the lack of innovation with how much money they make. It's insane. Like there's patterns in Pokemon if you look at it. Like we had, red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, sapphire, emerald, diamond, pearl, platinum,
Mhm.
black, white 2, white 2, heart, gold, soul, silver, whatever, like all the in betweens. And then we get to X and Y. They add an actual new gimmick, not something that is like any kind of battle mechanic, not like any difference in like moves or whatever. They add a completely new form to already existing Pokemon. And that was the first gimmick they ever made and innovated with back in like 2013. That was so like that was such a huge turning point for Pokemon, because when Megas came out, they just became like the center focus of everything. Like
Mhm.
I remember how hype Megas were. Everyone was speculating like which Pokemon's gonna get Megas next, like which one's gonna get its Mega. Um, and like every gimmick Pokemon has made, they drop it in the next game and throw something else in our faces. Next, in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, we have Z moves. Woo, Z moves. Like nobody cares about Z moves. Then we get yeah, yeah, I know. And then we get the big guys. We get the big chonky Pikachu Gigantamax,
But if
which
you like
like
regular Pikachu, you're gonna love.
I
We
know.
got something for
It's
you. You're
like,
gonna
oh, it's
love the chunky
super
one.
big. Yeah, and then the next gimmick they did was big Pokemon. And then some of the big Pokemon had forms similar to Mega Pokemon, where they would only turn into that when they would Gigantamax. Um, and now in these new games, well, I guess they also did regional forms like Alolan forms and then Galarian forms.
Now
But
that's a
now,
gimmick I love. That
yeah,
gimmick,
it's a great gimmick. It is a
that's the
great
best
gimmick.
thing, and I think that's a more. Now I know megas were big, but like I feel like that was the turning point for me when Pokemon did that. They
Mhm.
made me realize that they weren't going to just go to a million Pokemon, and it wasn't
Yeah,
going to just get lost on me every generation. They could do something that would like add depth, and it really
yeah.
added depth to the
Those are
land
great.
and
That's
their
great.
story as well, because you like immediately it clicks. You're like, oh, there would be Pokemon all over the world, just like our world. They'd be a little bit
Yeah.
different. And it's like, holy crap, that's just like brilliant. That's so cool.
Yep.
And now they don't have to invent a million new Pokemon. They could just invent 10 new Pokemon and, use different forms and different
Yep.
areas, So that
It,
was a big, big. So there are things Pokemon can do that maybe we are seeing that they're doing it maybe behind the scenes, but yeah, then what do we get? Crystal in this next one? We're getting
so
terraforms.
we're getting terraforms and there's leaks. Actually I don't want to do spoilers. There's leaks to some other thing, and then we've seen Paldean Wooper, the first Paldean form we've seen, which is another regional form. Um and yeah, like it's just gonna they just love to do the bare minimum and throw it at us. The only exception to that ever has been Legends Arceus, and I will die on my hill about how huge that was for
It's a
Pokemon.
good game. It's a good game.
It is such a good game, like an actual game that somebody who's outside of Pokemon could enjoy. It's
It's
actually like
fun.
so many Pokemon games. We just like it because it's Pokemon. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
sucks. Like it's kind of boring. It's short. Like there's not much going on. But then you go to Legends Arceus, massive game, massive landscape, awesome story, gets a bit darker, like everything everyone who has been in this space has wanted for a long time. They put it into that game. That was such like they broke the mold a bit and gave us like a little piece of like, here you go. Here's like what you've all been waiting for, like something new. So that yeah, that I hope they sprinkle in that things like that as time moves forward with Pokemon. That's huge.
Yeah, and I feel like they have an incentive to do that sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
Because they know what helps them sell, and we want to see a little bit. They still haven't like dropped the whole shiny alternate art thing on us, and that is gonna be a thing that when they do, people is like it's no one talks about it. They're all like alternate art this, alternate art that, and then you think of like the shinies only come in the shiny sets or the gold cards, but like, what if, Colson? What if the alternate art? And are you ready for it? Are you ready for your mind to be blown? Chat, everyone, are you ready? What if it was a shiny Pokemon in the alternate art? So they haven't even done that yet. So like Pokemon, I think is like it's not like Dragon Ball Super where like every single card looks like it's the ultra most coolest card. Like they put
Yeah.
the artwork in. Have you ever opened any Dragon Ball Super cards like modern new Dragon Ball?
No, but I've looked into it. I love
Dude,
Dragon
they're
Ball Super.
so cool. Like you
Yeah.
look at every single card, it's a full art, like
Yeah, it's
gold
sick.
foiling, like the most beautiful, crazy, like all out. You're just like, whoa, this is insane. But it kind of makes it not special when every card is like that. And then you see the real one, you're like, oh, this one has like a signature on it. It's in a slab. So that must be the good one because it's like in plastic. So you wonder if it comes out of pack in plastic because you've only ever seen those big, really good Dragon Ball Super cards when they're in plastic. So it must come out of the pack in plastic. But like with Pokemon, they do a pretty good job of like of giving us what we want, but not giving us everything that we want, leaving a little meat on the bone. And I think there's some, and that goes along with like a print run thing too. Pokemon has seen the print run literally destroy the market. Like they've seen it multiple times. Like they saw it. First of all, we saw it in different card games. It tanked the Magic the Gathering in the early 90s market with Fallen Empires and Ice Age. Like it boomed. Magic the Gathering was the first like popularized trading card game in the US. It boomed hard. And then it boomed so hard that they just overprinted the bejesus out of it and it busted because it was just everywhere. You'd get everywhere. People were using it for like doorstops, basically, the boxes. It's like it's gonna be like wilderness MetaZoo boxes, is what it's gonna be like. The Fallen Empire are. Just literally it's fallen out of my walls. So and so that crashed the market in the 90s. They saw that, and that I don't think they wanted to repeat that. So they've been a little more tight and they've been a little bit more hesitant to do that in Magic the Gathering. Pokemon did that several times. I know of one in particular with Roaring Skies in 2016. The boxes when they came out, because of competitive cards that came out, not even because of collectors, because we can't even say it's like stonk doggers, like collectors, whatever. It was legitimate like players driving the price of these boxes.
I was there.
Yeah. And so Shaman EX was a competitive card, and you needed it for your deck. There are other competitive cards in the set. The boxes were like 200 plus, like what was close to 300, 270 something bucks a box. And like it was Shaman or bust. And then Pokemon did the one thing that they hadn't done in a long time, and they reprinted the hell out of the set. And they literally printed it so that in one single night, people who invested their life savings, invested everything into those boxes, their $275 boxes, became literally unsellable. We're not talking it was a slow descent like from 270, 275 to it was from 275 to zero to you are sitting on it for 7 years, and then it's after that you're happy that it's what is it now, $300 or something, like it's now back to what it was before the fall in 2016. And I think Pokemon saw that, and they saw a lot of people get burned. And while they don't care about the secondary market, I don't think they really care about it. I think they care a little bit about people wanting to spend their money with them continuously. And they know that if enough people get burned on the secondary market, they leave. And when you get burned, you're less likely to come back. So I do think that Pokemon cares about the secondary market and what happens to a small extent, to the extent that they don't want people to get burned too bad. So we saw that. We're seeing it again. We're seeing it now in the Sword and Shield era, where demand was so high, the box prices got so high that Pokemon listened to demand and they printed it just to the ground. And it hasn't gotten anywhere to the point where like Roaring Skies was unsellable, because there's so many people still interacting with the market. Still, it's very liquid comparatively. But I think that's also because they've learned, and they are doing these waves. They've been doing these waves, and it's they're doing things to mitigate their effect on the market based on how much they release and who they release it to. Like with and distributors see that too. Distributors, they're allocating, they're holding things back and distributing it to certain, amounts to certain accounts. I mean, I think a lot of these markets learn. And as far as like other card games are concerned, other card games are going to have to probably learn that too, because like everyone really adjusted like in 2021, 2022 for that huge boom, and they bumped up their print runs. But like, the worst thing that a card game could have is you almost need it to have less supply. The worst thing a collectible card game that people want, that you want them to buy and chase after, could have is oversupply. It's very important for people to sort of want it a little bit, and for it to be hard to get to a certain extent. It can't be impossible. There's a balance. It can't be the point where it was in 2021, where like the shelves are empty. So every time you go to Target, little Timmy's crying his eyes out because he can't, nobody's having fun there. The parents hate Pokemon because their kid cries every time they see the empty shelves, and then they don't want to buy it. The kid doesn't get to interact with Pokemon, so then they don't have these crazy like life-forming interactions that then, they go on to some guy's YouTube channel and talk about 18 years later. And so then they can't have those interactions. So then the hobby loses on a potential
Yeah.
fan. So everybody loses in this situation. So there's a balance, of course, that I think Pokemon has with their printing. It's hopefully, we're going to see them rein back a little bit as demand has kind of come back. But
Yeah.
how are they going to do that when like the best two sets are yet to come? Like this set. Oh, by the way, anyone who's watching right now, please like and subscribe and comment down
Like
below.
it down
We're
below.
about to drop. I'll drop a little bit of info for anyone who's listening that I haven't heard a lot of YouTubers talk about right now. So this is something about Lost Origin that I think should be talked about. Maybe a video should be made. I'm not the type to make these types of videos, but we'll talk about it now. There are no wave 2 or 3 of Lost Origin. Everything from Lost Origins is out there. So this is the first set since what was the set they started doing the waves with? I think it was Shining Fates. They started doing the wave systems with is when I believe it was Shining Fates. Yeah. So it's a first set since Shining Fates, if that's the case. If that was their first set, they did the waves with that they have not done wave system with. So, like my distributor has everything that he's going to get already in his warehouse. And if that's the case for him, I know that's the case for a lot of others. And it's not something you hear a lot. So I feel like that's something definitely should talk about. What do you think about that? Do you think that's going to affect how the market appreciates? Because like every other time that we've seen in this market, we've seen basically a small release or a release of like 60% of the product, 60 to 75% of the product in the first run. It dries up really quick because of demand. And then in a month or 2 months later, you get a little bit more when nobody wants it. And then another couple of months after that, when a new set comes out, usually right when a dump of other product comes out, they dump a little bit more when nobody wants it. So it sort of does this negative sort of price realization to the market. It really puts this downward pressure on it where you're like, oh God, I have to buy this now because it's like coming out. But it's like, I want this new thing instead. So what do you think that Lost Origin being all out on the first wave, what do you think that'll do to like the appreciation of the set? And like, how do you think that bodes for the future?
I think if there really are no more waves, or if they don't choose to do a reprint, that's like that's huge for where we're at right now.
Well, it doesn't mean they won't do a reprint because the reprint's always on the table, but like waves, that's all out. Like it's for sure. This is all that's
like this is the print run.
It is the print run until the reprint,
If so, so I think it's awesome. Like to get the demand so like centralized around this set when it comes out and not like, oh, they know they can get it in a couple months. Like that is really good for Pokemon, and I see why they made that change. If they can just dump it all, they know people will want it. They're gonna want to consume it because they know this is maybe the only chance if it doesn't get reprinted. Like who knows what's gonna happen with something like Lost Origin, especially with these sets when we're coming in to a new era and they're trying to completely transition everything into Scarlet and Violet.
Like you think they're gonna go back to like print another couple of like why would like especially with something like Evolving Skies, like how many times has Evolving Skies been printed, Colson? I can tell you, I can count on one hand and it fills up. So two hands, how many times Evolving Skies has had reprints? I'm not talking about waves, we're talking about reprints, baby. So I mean, how many more times is that gonna happen? And just if Pokemon's listening, please don't take that as me saying I don't want more Evolving Skies. This is me saying I want more Evolving Skies. So please don't hear me saying what I just said as a negative to you printing more, because if you're listening right now, please print more Evolving Skies. This is me begging. I'm pleading. We need more Evolving Skies. It's going to 200. It is going to 200, and nobody's going to be happy when it's at 200. Okay, nobody likes it at 200.
I wanted to respond to what you were talking about earlier with modern. Like modern, it is just in such a good spot right now. Really, like you in a lot of places across the country and even across the world, kids can go to the store and get some packs. And while they may not get the premium products, they may not get the Evolution Alt-Art collection boxes, or they can't pick up a booster box from Target. They could get a couple packs and they can interact with Pokemon. Like that's what you want to see. That's what you love to see. That's what I did when I was a kid. That's what you did when you were a kid. Like that's what we need for the hobby to like keep going strong. And what you were saying before, like I think the biggest part for me of them buying Millennium Print Group was to have maybe a bit more control of when and where they can reprint things. Like because they know how shaky these TCG, like they're on such a thin line, these TCGs between this set is like the worst set ever, it's overprinted, it's garbage, or like this set is the best set ever, it's so short printed, this is team up, like it's going to the moon always, like whatever it is, it they want to have control of that and they want to find the balance. And while not every set will have that balance, you see with these recent sets, they've been having a bit more of that balance. As opposed to like battle styles, chilling rain, fusion strike, that are just kind of like in the dumps right now. like because they just didn't really pay attention to where the market was at, I guess. And they just anticipated a lot more demand. But the overall modern thing, the like how I feel about where modern's going, I think there's so many ways for people to engage with Pokemon now compared to even like 6 years ago. The Pokemon content space on YouTube, TikTok, whatnot did not exist. You had Unlisted Leaf, you had Leonhart, and you had Primetime Pokemon, and you had a couple other channels like Laughing Pikachu. You had some big guys like Gary, but they weren't really like huge on social media or anything. That was the space. Now you have whatnot streams, you have TikTok videos, you have YouTubers everywhere, like big, Twitch streamer, YouTube box breaks, those were huge. Like there's just so many things that keep that like attention retention, basically just retaining interest. And I've gone back and forth with being super bullish and super bearish on modern in the past, but now I'm just kind of at this place where I think it's just going to keep doing its thing. I don't think it's going to the moon, and I don't think it's going into the ground. I think Pokemon is going to find a way to just keep things pushing.
Yeah, it is what I think it's Tuesday. By the time this releases, it'll probably be Wednesday of the
Yep.
release week of Lost Origin. And we pre-sold and sold out of every single booster box that we have already. The booster boxes are there's still only like 110, 107, 110 on, TCG player, and they're available, but the demand is just insane. Like I haven't experienced this much demand since what was the last Brilliant Star didn't even have this type of demand, like because Brilliant Star was throttled by the fact that it didn't have the print that it needed to supply the market. So the prices of the booster boxes were far higher. Like at the price that the booster boxes are now, and how much people like ripping the packs, it's at this like perfect level where the market is just eating it up because they
Yep.
haven't had a set that was this good for this price in so long. Like
Yep.
because it's a Pikachu set, and it's a better Pikachu set than Vivid
And
Voltage,
Charizard.
and it's got Charizard, it's got Gengar, it's got Snorlax,
Yep.
and great. I don't know. This is going to turn into the next few minutes of me shilling Lost Origin here. So, like the set is so well crafted because not only, and this might just be my experience, 36 booster boxes is a large sample size, but it's by no means a large enough sample size to really get a full feel for pull rates. But we pulled 3 alternate arts out of 6 cases, and um, like that's really brutal. But like in between that, the hits from the trainer gallery, the secret rares, like all
Yep.
the altar, like the other alternate arts that you see in like the secret rare trainer gallery, do such a good job, and they're it's scattered in such a way, and the characters that they use in them in the lower tier ones specifically. When you hit like that lower tier Gengar, that lower tier Snorlax, that flat hollow number 1 through 13 trainer gallery, it's not going to be like a I don't know Drampa. It's a Pokemon you like and you have a connection to. Like even Chandelure, which I would argue isn't as popular of a Pokemon, is one of the coolest like trainer galleries, like color wise, scheming. Such a great look like on that card,
Yep.
and like it's just Chandelure. Like and let's
Yeah.
so So like the hits feel good even though they're 50 cent hits, and the really good hits
Yeah.
are hard enough to hit that it keeps you wanting to come back for more without the feels bad that you get from Evolving Skies. Because with Evolving Skies, you open up a booster box and you get 6 to 8 hits. They're mostly going to be V's that you don't care about, like Noivern's and Dracozolts, and you might get one Glaceon V or like a one V Max if you're lucky, and if you're really lucky, you'll get a full art trainer instead of full art Pokemon. And then let's not even talk about the alt arts, because there's no way you're going to open up a single box of Evolving Skies and get an alternate art. Let's just be real.
I
So,
did.
okay, well, you make everyone mad. You're making everyone mad right now, especially all of the people who watch my streams and
just
we've been
one.
opening. Yeah, so they're very hard to pull in Evolving Skies. They call it Evolving Cries for a reason.
Yeah.
It just feels bad, man. It just feels bad,
It
man.
does.
So like,
It
even
does.
though I used to say Evolving Skies is like one of my favorite sets of all time, after opening up copious amounts of Evolving Skies, it is not a good set to open. It's not a fun
Yep.
set to open. It is not a set for the faint of heart. It is nobody's favorite set if you've actually opened it. That's my argument. And maybe the one person who opened like a Moonbreon in the first pack, they think, oh, it's the best set ever. But I get it. I get it. But it's just not the. Whereas a set like, Astral Radiance, sure, you're not going to hit the alternate art, but you're going to probably get 10 to 12 hits in your box.
Yep.
It's going to feel good along the way. And you might get a really sick trainer gallery, like a really, really cool, like super rare trainer gallery. And like, it just, I don't know. I can't say enough. And the price isn't being driven by this like lack of demand or this lack of supply, like we saw with like Brilliant Star. I went to my distributor for Brilliant Star. I was like, please, dude, give me as much of this as I can get. Like, give me 10 cases. He's like, hold on, Timmy. You can have 3 cases. And I'm like, seriously, this is gonna go in like a day. He's like, I know, but everyone needs it. I gotta distribute it around. So with like Astral Radiance, I was like, hey there, buddy. I need a bunch of this set here. Can I get that? Can I get those 10 cases? He's like, oh, you need 10? How about 10 more? And I was like, oh, okay, this is a different situation, but this is a good set. This is a really good set. And he's like, it is what it is, but there's no wave no 2 and 3. So like they're literally it's all out. So like it's because I think people aren't used to that people are like, and I do think it's going to lead to a slower and steadier appreciation until the real reprint hits. Because people, with as hard as it is to hit the alternate arts, are going to want to keep ripping it because these alt arts are good, man. The Giratina is beautiful. We pulled
Gorgeous.
the Giratina. The 3 we pulled with a Rotom first, then the Giratina, and then the Persian. And so we didn't get the Aerodactyl, unfortunately. But the first 2, the Rotom, stopped me in my tracks. Rotom, it was like we spent 5 minutes looking at the art, the different forms. So good. The Giratina, the Rotom was really off center. The Giratina, on the other hand, perfect 10. Perfect 10.
There we go. We love to see
and it went to a filthy binder collector. I spent 10 minutes on my stream after we pulled the Giratina trying to convince the person who pulled it to rate it with the express PSA. I even offered, and I don't offer this ever, I do not PSA middleman for people. I offered to middleman it for them if they were uncomfortable doing it themselves, because I wanted them to be able to get the value if they were.
Yeah.
I was like, baby, get that $700 to $1,000 sale. But they told me, they said, oh no, this is gonna go into a binder. My son and I collect together. We're just gonna throw it. And they said, I don't even care if it goes down in price. They're like, I don't care. The price doesn't matter. This is beautiful. Awesome. It was an experience. And I was like, I appreciate that, but just hear me out. You could do it as sell this thing and buy 2 more of them with the money for like 10 minutes. But it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing that even my evil flipper mentality couldn't spoil. I tried to spoil the moment for them, but they were strong. They were strong.
They held true. Yep. Yeah. I want to say, like, the English modern sets we're getting now are the best case of Japanese leftovers we've ever gotten, because these Japanese sets, you either have alternate arts as your chase card or you have a character gallery. Character gallery sets are doing so poorly, and they're like sub retail because it's not hard to pull all these cards. get there's like 6 character rares, you get like 3 a box, and there's 2 character like secret rares, and you might have a chance of getting one of those in a box. Like, I don't know what they're thinking with like two alternate art sets. Like you have like, the whatever Dialga and Palkia set with just alternate arts, and then you have the third, whatever it was called. I'm forgetting what the name
Incandescent
was.
Arcana, is it? Or
Well, yeah, that's the most recent one, but this one was a
the
couple,
one
maybe
before?
like
Yeah,
Battle
yeah, I
Region
forget.
or something. I don't know,
I'm not
something
a
like that.
Japanese, like, so I've tried,
Yeah,
like I said many times,
yeah,
I've tried to get Japanese distribution and I can't.
yeah. But these English cards, we get alternate arts and we have character rares to fill out the chase along the way. Like
Yes, but
that's what makes these sets so great.
yeah, so
That's why,
whoever is out there saying that they don't like the fact that these English sets are so big and that they get too much, it's like, yeah, well, we could split it up and we could get one or the other, but instead we get both. So
yeah.
it is
It
sort of nice.
No, it makes an Evolving Skies a lot more difficult to like experience and open, but it makes a Brilliant Stars where you have a Charizard or Arceus Altarts, and then you have a bunch of character rares you also love, a way better experience to open. Like that's one thing I have to say about these modern sets coming out. And I hope I hope they keep that in some regard, where they have that lower tier, you know, these lower tier cards that people can still love, even if it's 50 cents, $1, $2, people still love the character rare cards and they love the art. Like, hopefully we see something like that in the next block.
It's important to have a hit in that reverse slot, as long as that
Yeah.
reverse slot exists, that can be there to make it feel like you get a little bit extra. Because the
Yeah.
thing about, like, when you're buying anything, everyone likes to feel like they got a good deal. Like the
Yeah.
feeling of feeling like you're special and you got something that you weren't supposed to get, and like get a little bit extra. That's sales 101. Like, I used to work in high end, like, wine sales, okay? And so like part of my job was like taking people on tours and like making them feel special by showing them the back of the house, and like, you take them to the where the wine is made, and like you do all these things that you're not supposed to do. You're really not supposed to do, but you do it for everyone
Yep.
because it makes them feel special. So like, maybe there's not a rope there usually, but if you put a rope there and you take the rope off, and when you get there, it makes the
Mm.
experience so much better.
Yep.
So like that's something to capture, that the second slot, that reverse slot, it gives you that little bit of extra juice. You're like, oh well, like, I wasn't expecting this, but I'm not gonna say no. Like, this is nice. Like, I guess I deserve this. So that's what it feels like when you hit that radiant, or when you hit that, like, that trainer gallery, or when you hit that first gold Pikachu, that giant gold Chonkachu, and then right behind it is a full art trainer. You're like, oh well, I didn't know this was a thing, but it is now. And so no one's gonna put that back and be like, yeah, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to just get one hit per pack. You know what I mean? So like, Pokemon, and keeping it like pretty common is fine, as long as you have some scarcity and rarity to really chase there. And that's
Yep.
why I say I think that they do have it right with Astral Radiance, where you have these like really hard chases, but then you have the stuff that feels good to hit too. So like,
Yep.
I definitely think that there's something to be said for modern English. And I certainly hope that if we do ever get like a combination where they combine, and the release schedules, and it's not like this segmented different thing, I really hope that it just means that they get bigger sets and not that we get smaller sets. Because even though there's that argument that there's no set identity in English and people don't like that, and they like the smaller sets in Japan, I legitimately like think of sets like Champions Path. It's a 70 something card set, I believe, with like 11 secret rares or something. It's such a small set with no subset. You get it done like that, people got so tired of that set, even with those chaseable cards. And maybe that's because it was not a very well made set. There's an argument to be said against it. But then, okay, let's talk about something like Generations. Even Generations, really, really small set, Radiant Collection. People love it now because it's $50 a pack, and they weren't around when it was literally on the shelves. Just, you were around, you're probably at Target when it was on the shelves, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
And
was.
Generations, the way that release came out, they just pumped it out for a year, for a whole year. Every month, they just flooded the shelves with a new mythical collection box. I got a
Yep.
couple of them behind me. I love the
I
Mythical
loved
Collection.
those.
They're so good. I love the promos, the pins, everything. But at the time, nobody wanted it because it's like, dude, more generations. It's like what it feels like Shining Fates is right now, except Shining Fates is a huge set that, you know, you actually probably do need to master set. It's hard to master set. You can master set at generations, no problem. Like, I remember when I got back into the hobby, it had just been released, but I didn't want to like go rip a bunch of packs of it. I went on TCG Player and bought the entire Radiant collection, an entire set for like $22, I think it was, like at the end of it. And I remember being upset because I bought multiples of many of those cards, like on accident, because I was buying from so many sellers and trying to get free shipping. So I was like combining orders and, you know, and so like it was not expensive. And now it is. So it's like everyone thinks differently of it. But yeah, it's just a matter of like how the market receives it. And like, I think that bigger sets are oftentimes received better. That's just
I
my
agree.
thought.
I mean, anything with a harder chase, it's going to be received better if people care about it down the road. Like you look at all these XY sets, sure, some of these cards are rare, but because and the pull rates were really low, like they, you know, they had some kind of hard chase to them when you were in the moment. They had like 8 to 10 full arts, and then they had like a couple secret rares, and those were your hits besides like regular EXs or breaks or whatever. Like we don't talk about hollows. Like the those were the hits, but it wasn't that hard to pull that. Like to pull 12, 14 different cards. Realistically, like even if you got 2 hits per box, that's still not nearly on the level that we have now with the difficulty of hits and pulling one individual card. So while like people may think, oh, this like Mewtwo Gold XY from Breakthrough is like super rare and hard. It's like, well, that was one of 2 gold Pokemon secret rares in the set. So if you pulled it, it'd be that one or the other one. Whereas in alternate art, you have who knows how many alternate arts
A
are in each
dozen. I
set.
think there's a
Like,
baker's
yeah.
dozen in Evolving Skies. I mean, they've been so they're lowering it now. It's like
Yep.
4%. They're really bringing it back as a trainer gallery, but like for a while there, they were putting like 10, 12, 13,
Yeah.
14 alternates in a set, and it's
Yep.
like that's brutal.
Yep. And yeah, like the Breakthrough and all these XY sets, like so many sets didn't really do anything until 2020 happened. These modern sets are doing things as we speak that these prior sets did not do price wise. They stayed very like stagnant or like moved very like marginal ups or downs percentages wise. Whereas, you know, look at it now and how volatile it is. And maybe that means we're in like a super bubble and everything's going to zero, but I'm not gonna who knows? Like I just see a lot more like demand and interest in these modern sets than I did see back then. Just because of how much more they have to offer.
What do you think about Pokemon? I've had a lot of people in my lives asking about this, which is interesting to me because it's not something. It's like something that comes up once in a while. It's like cyclical, but what do you think
Mhm.
about Pokemon and doing serialized and not the cards? Do you think that's something you could see them doing? Would you like to see that? What do you think about that?
To me, whenever I talk about this, it's just like why? Like what does Pokemon have? What would Pokemon get with serialized cards they don't already have now? What how well do collectors receive that? How well do players receive that? How well would players like that in their products to make what they want to chase that much harder when they if they want to like
Imagine,
uh,
imagine if Evolving Skies, the first
yeah,
event, had serialized cards. It would be in a it would be a $1,000 box right now.
yeah.
It would.
So
It would
so
actually be
yeah.
a $1,000
So
box.
every single would be garbage
Hmm.
besides like the serialized. But if you actually wanted to experience it, good luck, dude. You're not experiencing that box. Like, and that's
People
really
want
bad.
serialized cards until they get it, and then they
I
get the
know.
repercussions of it being
Yeah.
$1,000 boxes.
Yep.
And then when the boxes are $2,000 and people are clamoring for a reprint, you can't. It's
Yeah.
serialized. That's
No.
all in. It's in it. Like, what are they gonna do? Print another run with like, hey, so then you have two number 11s 2 number 69 serialized cards.
No,
You know,
yeah. They need if we're gonna do that, we need specialty products, very, very specialty, like focused things that are complete reprint sets and don't have anything to do with any main sets. Like they need to release it as like promo lines, like specific like rare promos, like they
like the
did a lot
solid
more back
gold
in the day.
P2 that they did for
Yeah,
the 20th anniversary.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sort of
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Like it, or like say the e-lotteries where there were like 5,000 of each of the e-series like Japanese ones. Like
It's another word we
that.
don't say on this channel here, Colson, but those are very nice. Those are very nice.
Yeah, they are very nice. But yeah, I don't get the hype for serialized when modern's already doing so well now. Like I don't see it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I just hear it's just cyclical. Like it comes up in the hobby
I
once in a
know.
while, and
Yeah.
in my streams, I've been having a lot of new people coming in because I think the new
Mm,
set brings in a lot of new people,
that's
and
good.
it just comes up like once a day. It's like, hey, what do you think about serialized cards? Do you think we're gonna get some? And like my mind always just kind of goes to like we kind of already have them. Like with alternate
Yeah.
arts, they're already like so hard. It's like they're really hard to pull. So like we have the
Yeah.
equivalent of an alternate art, and then it gives them the ability to have the control over that secondary market so that your customers don't feel like they're getting hosed. Because like I get that the sports market, it's all gambling, it's all like, it's all about the big hits and like people go in with that mentality. In the Pokemon market, I like to think that we're a little bit better than that. That we're not all about just the gambling, that's an
We're a
element, but
game. We're a game.
it's a game, right? And it's things we like, and like we like to feel a little bit more attached to
Yeah.
our things. So like I think that's a little bit different. So like I don't think it's a one-to-one argument to make like the sports to the trading card
Yeah.
thing. And I oftentimes hear like, well, what about X, Y, or Z game that does do the serialized? And oftentimes the games that do those serialized, like they're changing it every set. Like we can talk about Metazoo a little bit, but like Metazoo does a different serialized gig in every single thing they're doing because they haven't quite figured out what to do with it. Like
Yep.
one, they have a card that you pull, it's a golden ticket. Another one is like it's a serialized card that went to space, and like another one's gonna be I don't know, a card that jumps out of the pack at you or something. I don't know. They're gonna figure out different ways, something that works for them. But like
Yeah.
I I agree with what you said though. Like why? That's all. Just like why? Why
Yeah.
would they? So
Yeah.
if we ever saw serialized cards coming to Pokemon, I would actually be concerned, and I would think that that was like Pokemon feeling signs of weakness
Yep.
and showing signs of weakness. It's like I'd be like, oh, this is the end. The end is
It's
nigh.
it just dismantles everything you've like built up with set cards already. Like they've given us these harder to hit full arts, secret rares, alt arts, whatever it is throughout the years, as that is where the collectors get to go in and get their fix. When you just completely bypass that with a serialized card, where like the market for a serialized card is just so up in the air, it's so out of any normal person's like purview. It just kind of detaches everyone from that. Like, what if the Umbreon, the Moonbreon was out of 100? How many people would really enjoy that card? How many people would really like that card? Would it be the most popular card of the year? No, it wouldn't, because most people would not have it and they couldn't have it. So
There's
with
an
Pokemon,
argument. There's
yeah,
an argument for that you have to. It's like scarcity versus like popularity. Like
yeah,
scarcity alone isn't enough for something to really drive a price up. Like you have to have something driving its popularity. It has to be put
yep,
in front of people. And if it doesn't have like you look at a card like Ancient Mew, and you look
yeah,
at a card like the Charizard SV50 from Sword. Isn't that it's 50, right? The Sword and
yeah,
Shield. Yeah.
49, 50, something
49.
like that.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
it's one of those two.
know.
I actually don't even own a single one of them because I sold all of them. Literally every one was
Yeah, me
sold
too.
years ago. Like, but that card, it just says everyone's seen it. Everyone wants it. Everyone's seen it. Everyone has experienced it. And because of that, it doesn't matter if there's a million copies, They're just gonna I lied. I probably have one somewhere. I'm positive if I were to roll up, flip up my couch cushion, there'd be one somewhere. You know what I mean? I just have to kind of look somewhere. But for the
Yeah.
most part, everyone in the hobby has an ancient Mew, everyone has a Charizard, but they still hold a value that is higher
Yep.
than I would imagine they should because it's just a card that has that popularity. And it goes the same way for something that's like really really scarce, that's like not very well known. I feel like there's some really 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 like low pop, like unknown cards. They're just worthless, you know what I mean, because it's just like obscure whatever. And then there's some really really like really cool cards that have a higher population, like the Illustrator Pikachu. That, you know, the Illustrator Pikachu, it's not a card that's like particularly rare among, well it is, but like among like trophy cards, it's
Yeah.
not the rarest and the craziest
No,
trophy
yeah, it's not the
card.
rarest.
It's a cool, it's the most expensive one now, but now I don't think it's like the rarest per se, but there's more population of it, but that's
Yep.
still the most expensive card. So
And
there's
and
clearly there's like a narrative around it that sort of drives that. And
yeah,
it's not just the scarcity, and it's not just the popularity of the card,
exactly.
because not
Yeah.
everyone has an Illustrator Pikachu in their closet, you
No.
know.
It's like, why is the Illustrator more expensive than any other card in the hobby? Because it has been put in front of that many more faces as all of the other ones. Why aren't the trophy Pikas, the OG trophy Pikas, like the bronze, silver, like gold?
I
Why
love that
aren't
you
they the
said the
most
bronze
expensive?
one because that one's the best one. The
Oh,
bronze one
I
is the
love the
absolute,
bronze one. The bronze one is the best, but
he's
they're
the
all
best.
amazing. Like
They're
they're
all
all
good. The
amazing.
proud papa, the proud
Yeah.
papa Bronze.
Yeah.
It's so proud.
Yeah, like it's just as most things are in this hobby, it's literally just a demand thing. Like with Pokemon, Pokemon is so much more printed than so many other card games. Like you look at like Weiss or even a lot of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic. Like Pokemon is so much more demand. It sells so much more volume. There's so many more of these chase cards, but they retain their value and they retain interest because of how much more demand there really is for this stuff. How many more people are actually engaged with Pokemon in their daily lives, in their like just even outside of the cards compared to like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's not nearly as much. Like when it comes to the merchandising and the connection to the IP.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out there and you're sitting on a lot of Pokemon cards, at least at least it's not MetaZoo. At least you can
Yeah.
say it's not MetaZoo. So there's that. So you know that's one thing about a lot of bag holders who are holding Pokemon. I hear Z and G, shout out Z and G. I'm gonna try to get him on the channel here soon because
Oh
we
yeah.
love James, but
I love
he
James.
always says never punished. And
Yep.
yeah, I think that to a certain extent, Pokemon collectors are not going to get punished, and they haven't yet.
I agree.
And it's just they still, even the ones who are holding the biggest bags, they still might not get punished like I thought they maybe should have. So like at least there's that, right?
Yeah.
I'm a bag holder, by the way. I have a lot of Pokemon, so as you can see
Yeah.
behind me, I'm a big old Pokemon bag holder. So if you're feeling offended by that, don't worry. It's a little self-deprecating here, so that's all. That's all. But I definitely do think that Pokemon has a lot of strength, and regardless, there are going to be some products that do better than others. But I do think that as a whole, Pokemon cards, they're going to stay around, and that does bring us sort of full circle here back to talking about what I think the most pertinent topic that I wanted to talk about tonight was just uh I want to get your, and to kind of finish off, let's we can start wrapping this up now.
Yeah.
what what do you think about like the youth in the hobby? Do you think that you are really an anomaly, or do you think that maybe we're going to see like more and more and it's going to be a nice steady, and that like it is going to continue? Because you probably answered this during, but just to kind of wrap it up, what do you think about the future and the like the youth of the hobby? Because like I would really love to hear your particular thoughts, because obviously you're a little more in touch with it than I think a
Yeah.
lot of us are.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have thought about this a lot in the past, and I guess to start with my personal experience online, I've only met like one or two people my age, and obviously there's so many more that are into it, but just in my experience, really little to none. Real life people that are as engaged as me and are actually like part of this market, like the secondary side of the market, not like buying a pack off a Target shelf, like someone who's actually engaging in eBay or Mercari or in other marketplaces, whatever it may be. Um, I haven't met anyone who's like that. Uh, I've met a lot of casuals, and that's what's made like my experience has kind of formed my opinion in that I think for a while I'm gonna be an anomaly. Most people my age who are interacting with Pokemon, they weren't obsessed like me. Like, let's be realistic. They weren't sitting in their room on Pokemon.com on this horrible, terrible website looking at set lists for mid-gen sets that had come out in 2006 and 2007, in 2015 and 2016. How many kids were doing that when they were 12 or 13?
Not
Like,
enough,
really?
Colson. Not
Yeah, not
enough.
enough. Yeah, not enough. Like, and that's like, I want to be super hopeful, but I also realize that Pokemon wasn't as huge as a thing for my generation as you guys. It didn't have the explosive coming onto the scene growth. It was super prominent. Everybody knew what it was. Everybody had the cards. Everybody played the games, but it wasn't like the biggest hype phase of all time. It was just kind of a normal part of childhood. Like, you liked Legos, you liked Pokemon, you liked Star Wars, you liked Indiana Jones, like all these different things. That was Pokemon was just part of it. Pokemon was part of the pop culture when I came into it. And I think that people my age, I think it's gonna be slow, but as you know, they get nostalgic, they get more money, I'm sure there will be people coming back to it. Like, it cards are such an awesome thing, grading such an awesome thing, collecting is just such an awesome thing. I think it can really drive so much demand with all of these like social media outlets we have. I think if YouTube content starts like getting more like in the Pokemon space, more like mainstream and leveled up, even outside of like the pack opening content, like if we start all editing our videos very like short form, flashy, whatever, and just like, show our knowledge in a way more like focused, honed sense, I think we can drive in this kind of short term, not short term, this really like lack of attention, lack of like patience that my generation has because everything is TikTok, flip, 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 whatever. Like, I think we need to do better trying to bring in people, trying to bring in casuals to this kind of space.
What are
And
you
I
talking
think that's
about,
important.
Colson? My retention rate is 100% for all 2 hours of every single one of these long form
No,
unedited videos.
your videos are great. Your videos are great. Your
I don't
videos
know
are
what you're
great.
talking about at all. The long form content always brings in the views, but I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
No, but I hear it. Like I definitely think that there's like a lot of opportunity in the Pokemon YouTube sphere that's not being capitalized on that could be. And I see a
Yep.
couple of people capitalize on it. So like you have the bigger guys like Pat Flynn, who's hired a
Yep.
really, really good editor to kind of really edit for him and plans out all his videos and everything. Um, and so that seems to work really well. I feel like his videos come out like once a month though. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's not regular like every day. And then you have someone like Leonhardt, right, who does also pump out more regular content, but it's like you said, it's kind of more like cookie cutter, like pack
Yeah.
breaking, and
And
I think that's because it's so regular. So
yeah,
I'm sure that there's going to be someone who knocks it out of the park here in the near future, like
I
we saw
agree.
PokeRev do with the pack breaking. Like when PokeRev started pack breaking, like that was Rev. I mean, he wasn't the first person to do that by any means, but like he really did revolutionize like and pave the way
He
for
did.
other pack breakers like on not just YouTube but on like on everything. So like it was him and other people, but like Pokerev grew really fast. Like he started
Yep.
6 months before the pandemic and he had 500,000 subscribers during like when I started watching him during the pandemic, I feel like.
Crazy.
So like he really, really did start that new type of content. But now, that's really cookie cutter. Everyone's doing that, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not as exciting. But there are
It'll
more
always
options.
change. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll always change.
yeah.
It's just like life. It's free flowing. It's never constant. Like it's just gonna change. It's like just I would say like support the people, try and really support the people who put a lot of time and effort into their content, coming up with like really good things to talk about, like dumping hours and hours into their editing, Like, I think you run a really great podcast here because you really like to engage and interact with your guests. It feels very personal. Um, I always love to listen to it. I look at someone like Pokemon DNA, DNA.
I
Like his
love it.
editing is amazing. I like he's the homie, love that guy. Um, Tap in with him, like just like I support these people in the space. They're trying hard. We need more of an incentive to put, long thought over content out, right? Like really.
Yeah, it needs to be more than just, well, it's a Charizard. And then on to the next one. It's worth it. Put flash a little green number in the corner and put a
Yeah.
ching sound, and
Yeah.
and you have your playmat that's there, and you put it in the background, and you stack up your hits, and
No.
I'm on my way to making a Twice Baked Jake video now. So it's
Yeah, literally.
yeah, it's definitely it's one of those things I would like to see. And I want to say with that, welcome to YouTube, because
Thank you.
we're gonna pump your channel a little bit here. I keep pointing up, but he might be left, he might be
Yeah,
down,
I know.
down right. Wherever he ends up on the screen, go follow Colson, because he's gonna start putting out some of that awesome edited content. But that being said, where do you see yourself and your channel going from here? Do you have any big like announcements you want to make? Do you besides your new video, but
Yeah.
or do you have any other announcements you'd like to kind of make for yourself?
Well, um, I don't my YouTube obviously it doesn't have any views, right? I mean, videos right now, so it's pretty barren. I wish I could have uploaded the video before I had got on, but um, it's no worries. It'll come with time. I want it to like be the finished product when I drop it. I don't want to rush it. Um, my YouTube next couple of days, within the next week, by like Friday, by the latest, I'm hoping to have the first video drop. It's with
Yeah, that'll be a good
It
one. That'll be a
yeah,
spicy one.
yeah, I'm just trying to I just love talking about the cards, and specifically, I love talking about the market, um, and not really I don't really care what I say or what people say or opinions. Like, argue with me, please argue with me in the comments with anything you have. Like, I will be super respectful. I'd I put my opinion out there. Me and my friends, we're gonna put our opinions out there on what we feel like, and I want everybody to do more of that. Because this whole like, oh, I've said too much, like this is like I can't say these kind of things. I'm gonna have an impact on the market. Like Pokemon is huge. It is so much bigger than any one of us. Like, sure, if you're PokeRev, yeah, you might have a dent in the market if you find a niche thing and make a video on it. Of course, you're gonna have a dent in that market when the sales volume is like once every 2 weeks or a month. Like, of course. But with these like modern stuff or like PSA graded stuff, like man, we're just talk, like just talk. Like that's all I want. I just want to talk about cards. I want to entertain. Like I want to educate with stuff I know to the best of my ability. I don't even have that much to teach, but like I do know a lot about the more niche stuff, a lot about the niche cards and Japanese stuff. Um, yeah, man. I want to have fun too. That's the big goal. I want to like talk to people like you, um, talk, bring friends on, go on lives all the time. Like, just let's just have fun. Let's just talk.
It's a fun hobby, man. It's definitely a fun hobby, and we're certainly happy to have you here. And that's what makes me so happy about being able to have you on the channel. And I want to say thank you again
Thank
for
you.
coming on the channel.
Yeah.
So everyone, look out for Colson on the YouTube sphere, and also check out Eternacity Collectibles on Instagram. And I think that's as good as a place of ever to end it. So if you
I
haven't
think that's great.
already, and if you've made it this far, we appreciate everyone for watching. But please smash that like button. Get us down below. Go find Colson in the description there, and we will see you guys on the next one here. And thanks again, guys. Stay classy out there.
Cheers.